Dear Boomers, yesterday, yesterday on my YouTube channel, we discussed the stories that we can tell about our past. The baby boomer hippie days were such that many of us did go through times that we may not in the past wanted to talk about. As of now, there's no reason to hold back on these stories because they weave the fabric of our lives together. Now, we don't want to live in the past, and so telling stories sometimes puts us in the mindset of living in the past. But but oftentimes they can bring people together in a spirit of laughter and great mirth because they're funny. There's a lot of funny things that happen. I know when we get together and tell stories, my husband was a great storyteller, as was my brother, Delaney. Now, my husband, Tom, did not go through the experiences that I talked about yesterday. But about 10 or so years ago, my sister, Jala, and I wrote a book about our hippie escapades. Now, what happened, how we did that was she lived in Norfolk, Virginia, and I live in Pennsylvania. And what she did is write her, like, Dear Kate, and she would write a segment describing her experiences with this, her experience with the adventures that we underwent. And then I would write back with the adventures that, as I saw it. And we actually pieced together quite a little piece of work, but we never got to publish it. I do love this book. It is so sweet, and it begins with with us picking. It was at the end of the Commune days, the end of the Commune itself, where we had a coal stove, and we were outside picking coal out of the rubble, kind of excavating coal out of the rubble to start a fire for that evening. And it was very, very sweet. I don't think we said a whole lot of words. And we were knowing, well, there's a nostalgia knowing that we would have to part ways. She would have to go with my brother to another place. I could not live with them at the time. I would have loved to, but it wasn't to be. It wasn't to be. And in fact, my mother was a real estate person, and she got a place for them, but not for me. And I was kind of homeless out in the rolling hills of the Susquehanna, and lived in a place called Peckway, which did a lot of walking, walked to a garden area to plant the beautiful new plants of springtime. And so this manuscript here was, and still is, and also before that, I used to write every day in a journal about the Commune adventures. And so we had compiled some of that information into this. So in the coal pile is kind of a metaphor for the ending of what became an epic life that we all shared together, and it came to an end. And some of the guys who were on this commune, 4 of them, are no longer living. They died of cancer, alcoholism, heart, and it's a kind of alarming to think that those guys are no longer with us, and I miss them. We had so much fun, although it was fun that would not have been approved by our parents. But in those days, nothing was really approved by our parents. They were very upset by our sojourns into drugs, LSD, marijuana. And then some of the guys got into some heavy duty drugs like heroin. And one of the guys prevented me from trying heroin, and I said, okay, I won't. And he probably saved my life because the addictive personality that I've been known for would have gone all out, and who knows what it was laced with. And yeah, I thank him from the bottom of my heart. I credit him for saving my life. And as I said, my nursing school and going and being a nurse for 40 years full time is what was my rehabilitation. And I did go into Alcoholic Anonymous for a period of 10 years, and I don't drink anymore. And but I do enjoy marijuana because I think it's now seen in a different way. It's not even illegal necessarily. Here in Pennsylvania, it is recreationally, but medical marijuana is not illegal. So, in this one little book I wrote that's on Kindle, I think that it's very possible to say that our generation lost our innocence in the 60s with all of the assassinations: John Kennedy, his brother Robert, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King. Bam, 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 bam. So that I can remember the moment when these things happened, the people who called me to give condolences, and I remember just feeling lost. And our generation had to come to terms with this feeling lost because of these outer situations, the Vietnam War, the Civil Rights Movement. We became very, very involved in these cultural revolutions, you might say, in a lot of ways, because we were in communes and we were alienated from society. I can't say that I am now, after retirement, pretty much here in my house doing videos and doing other online business ventures. And so I am not necessarily alienated from society, but I have become a true introvert. And this is actually the life I've always wanted to lead. It's very, very creative, may I add. So when the memories of the past come back to us in the form of people gathering together and telling stories, we can, we can piece together almost like a work of art, a tapestry, so that it doesn't have to be a depressing situation. It can be a kind of rising out of the ashes sort of situation where we contribute to life in a new way when we integrate our past into the present moment. And then the present moment is lived without thinking about a future that's based on the past, but it's thinking about the future that is embroiled in a new life, a new person. And this is Evan Carmichael had just featured a video today about Joe Dispenza talking to Lewis Howell. And then he also pieced together some of Joe Dispenza's talks to his audience. He is so imaginative and wonderful. And he has some great meditations that really are about living in the moment and creating a new person out of the ashes, as it were. And of course, his retreats center around healing. When you get into the quantum field and you integrate your heart and your mind and your brain, you are healing your body and healing your emotions, and you don't have to live in the past anymore. So there are many, many stories out there. I can glean some of these here. It's so much fun. I love this book. And we have so much to be grateful for. And so many stories that help us feel grateful. I'll never forget the time my husband and I went to a birthday party of a guy who, a friend of mine still, he basically thought his life was over. And he was depressed, because he was 50. Now he's my age. But at the time, he was really getting into this being old thing. So when I started to talk about writing this book at the time, I was writing this book with Jala about the 1960s and all the adventures we went through, all of a sudden he he jumped out of this mindset of thinking that his life was over. I could tell a spark came into his stride, and we had a good laugh, and it was his birthday, and he was happy. And, that's what stories do for us. They give us a feeling of joy. And certain stories of abuse and trauma can be erased by some of these techniques that people like Dr. Joe teach. We do not have to be stuck in the past, but the stories help us feel that we have done something marvelous, darling. Please subscribe to my channel. I wish you well, and we will continue with the baby boomer hippie stories tomorrow. Bye-bye.